guys, Katie Walsh here again. I am here to talk about my favorite morning ritual. I'm excited to talk about it because it's something that I have grown to love over the past couple of months. I bet you don't know what it is. I bet you think it is exercise, and it is not. And I'll leave you a second to just think maybe what it could be to decrease stress that's not exercise, because it could be a lot of things. So I'll go ahead and tell you, it is meditation, and meditation is something that I've learned and practiced over the past 3 to 6 months, something around those range, I really don't know, and it's something that I've really had to build. And at first, when I first started meditating, I thought, which a lot of you might think, that it is not for me. Like, I can't meditate. That's something that I don't need to practice in my life. I can work out. I don't have time to meditate, this, and that. And you can develop those excuses and just say, you know, it's something that's kind of out there, right? Out there. It's not a big part of our society. It's not talked about so much. At least in my world, it hasn't been talked about. So when I started meditating and started realizing the benefits of meditating, it really transformed my life in my morning, which I could tell a difference in my day the very first day I did it. Working out and exercise is huge for me in the morning, and it should be for everyone. I think it's just a great way to get your endorphins up. And I did that for a long time, for about a year and a half, without really sitting in silence, without really, feeling the stress relief of something. I would just get up, my mind would be moving, I'd have my pre-workout, and then I'd go work out. And that was kind of my morning ritual, and it did decrease my stress. And it did, make me confident and make me feel better during the day, losing 100 pounds and things. Working out is a big thing for me, but I've found that if I don't get my meditation in some way in the morning, it really throws me off. There are times when I can't get it done. I at least try to get at least 5 minutes of silence when I wake up in the morning, because it's so powerful. It really can change your day. And when I was doing just working out, getting up, working out, and running, my head wasn't clear. And it really took I don't know the word, I can't think of the word, but it really took me off balance during the day, because I do have anxiety. I do have these things. And when I decided to do this, it was when I went back to the hospital, when I finally had my anxiety under control and could do the things that I love to do and really learn to practice on myself, that I started incorporating meditation into my life. And it is something that is just so huge to me. When you are going through so much stress in life, and everyone has stress, you're human, and you go, you don't get your mind to just sit and just let the thoughts go. And I think meditation is so powerful, and I want to give you guys some tips of how you guys can meditate, how you can start your meditation. And first, I want to say, it's not just sitting kumbaya, being silent. That's a great way to do it. That's how I do it, and I use an app for that, which I'll get to later. But it can be anything. It can be, running's very meditative for me. I go out for a run. It clears my mind. Even when I was running beforehand, when I do here and there little runs, I would come home from a run feeling so rejuvenated. And it's because the thoughts, this crazy amount of thoughts going in my head wasn't going on, and I could finally clear and be stress-free. And I would come home, and my boyfriend would be like, wow, like, you are so much better when you're running, so you need to start running more. And I realized it was because that was my meditation then, and I didn't realize that until now. So it can be running, it can be walking, it can be being mindful through the day. I know a lot of nurses, you need that time to really be mindful. And I try to really take breaks during the day. It doesn't have to be in the morning. Sometimes it can be during the day. I really try to make breaks during the day. Working 12 hours, working 13 hours is really tough. It's really tough on your body. It's emotionally draining. It can be really hard mentally, physically, spiritually on the body. And what I've found is that I'll take little breaks and just really sit in silence, even if it's just for a minute. And it really helps me clear off, get my head in a good place, and be able to take care of my patients instead of being so anxious and worried about drama, this, and that. I'm able to really focus on my patients and do the best that I can do. and it really helps with my stress and my anxiety level while I'm at work. I think it's really crazy for sometimes I'll be working and nurses are saying, I can't take a break, I can't do this. I make sure to take a break because it's so important for not only yourself, but your patients and your atmosphere there, because it is a high stress environment. You have to take breaks at work. I'm just telling you that now. I make sure to take breaks. I make sure there's a 30-minute break, and I make sure to take little off and on breaks, even if it's for a minute, to clear my head and get back to it. So that's another thing. But you can be mindful through the day. I try to be mindful with my eating. I know that with a high stress environment at work, especially for you nurses, I'm sure you can kind of relate to this. There is a lot of cookies, candy, things that patients bring in, and it's loaded around. So if you're really stressed out, I reach for that. So I really try to be mindful with my eating, and it's something that I always have to work on every day because I do have a history of food binges, emotional eating, things like that. So it's something that I have to work on. And that's a great way to meditate as well. You don't have to just sit and be mindful in silence, even though that I think is the best way. That's the best way that's worked for me in the morning to kind of, calm yourself down and really provide some clarity in your life. And when you do that in the morning, it really translates into your day. When I started meditating, right when I got up in the morning, I do it for 10 minutes, and those 10 minutes are my time. It's my time to calm down. It's my time to really try to focus on myself and my thoughts and where it's coming from, because a lot of these thoughts that are coming in my head, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, I don't know where they're coming from. It's like so stressed out, this, and that, and they come in, and you're just like, you can sit in silence for 10 minutes and just realize that those thoughts shouldn't make you anxious, and you're really just building up and things like that. So it's really worked well for me in the morning, and that's why I kind of wanted to give you these tools and tips, and I hope you guys can kind of relate to some of the things that I'm talking about as far as being really stressed in the morning and those, all those thoughts that come in, because it happens. That's you're human, and that's what happens when you're human. So I just find it so powerful, and I just think that you should be really open-minded to meditation or silence or mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, and just try to be really mindful of it, and don't shy away from it, because I shied away from it for so long. So if this is something that you're interested in, or being mindful, being meditative, I want to share you some tips of how I meditate, things that have helped me along the way, and some just little tidbits of information that might help. First, I want to say, like I said, you can do walking, running. It doesn't have to be a sit in silence thing, and you don't have to beat yourself up over it. You are human. You are going to have thoughts that come in and out of your head, and things that are going to be pressed, to really, you're really just going to keep thinking about one little thought, and try to just let it flow away. But if you can't, don't beat yourself up over it. Just practicing meditation and sitting in silence is so beneficial, but don't beat yourself up over it, because we're all human. There's times where I sit and meditate and I'm silent, but I have these thoughts come in my head and they just stick there. And as much as I try to let it flow, it just doesn't. But I don't beat myself up over it. I don't say, this was 10 minutes, this was a wasted 10 minutes. No, I think, I think that I thought of this thought, and, it'll come back, and those 10 minutes are very precious to me. So it's just very important. And just remember that it takes time. You might not be able to get through 10 minutes at first. I sure didn't, especially with my thoughts and my anxiety at the time and my rush go attitude. That's kind of how I was, and how I still tried not to be, but with meditation it really helps. But it does take time. I can get up to a long time. It depends on what you make a priority. But at first I could only do a minute, literally a minute, because I would just it was too much for me, and I didn't really understand it. And I just really wanted to find different ways to be less stressed. And luckily now I can get to a really high time, and it's my time to be silent and, to be clear and to really focus on myself. So it does take time. Make sure to get comfortable. If you're going to sit in silence, if that's the kind of meditation that you want to take a hold, just really get in a comfortable position. You can sit in a chair, you can be Indian style, or you can have your feet to the ground. I like to close my eyes. There's other people that like to open them, but when I close them, I just feel more into my body and into my mind and what's going on. So you can keep them open or closed. It's really your preference, and you know, these are just tips and tools for you. Another thing is like the breathing. Breathing is key, especially if you're anxious, if you're stressed out. Breathing really, really will help you calm you down. And this is just if you're sitting in silence, sure. But if you're, say for me, at work, at the hospital in a high stressful environment, and I do take that 1 minute out, or can go to the break room, or I take that 1 minute out and go to the bathroom and just sit for a minute. Breathing really helps. It slows your body down. It gives you that oxygen back to your brain. It makes you more clear. It makes you think better. And that's just really important, is the breathing. You can count your breaths, which is really good because that kind of gets away from what your thoughts are and where your mind is heading and where you're going. But make sure to take really deep breaths and, you know, really focus on calm and being centered. And like I said, you don't have to sit still. You don't have to do certain things. This is not a how-to. This is not a have-to. This is just tips that I have been given to you. And I just really want to stress the importance of how meditation has really, really changed my life, and how it's decreased my stress, and how I feel after meditating. When I'm done after my meditation, I just feel more calm and more ready to take on my day. And you also feel really grateful. You just feel really grateful to be in that moment and to be calm, and especially if you suffer from anxiety or stress-given life. And like I said, there's other tools. You don't have to sit there. You can journal. Journaling is a great way to meditate, especially if your thoughts are unclear, because you just start writing out your thoughts, and things that you don't even think that you're thinking are coming out on that paper. And it's really crazy to see sometimes. I need to get more into journaling. I don't do it as often as I should, but my thing is really sitting in silence and meditating. But you can do, you know, journaling, or you can do some visual work where if you sit in silence. If you want to work on a goal, you can, you know, really think of where you want to go and visualize that, and it will carry on to your day. I know for me, sometimes I do visualize my goals. If there's something that I really want to strive for, i.e. I just had a half marathon last weekend, I was meditating and saw myself cross that finish line because I haven't been training so much. I've been doing more of my insanity workouts, which is crazy, but I haven't been training as much for the half marathon, so I was really nervous and stressed out about it. So I would sit and meditate and visualize myself running, having a great time, smiling, and that's a great way to meditate as well. So there's so many tips, so many tools that you can use to meditate. Like I said, it does not have to be sitting in silence, and that's like the biggest thing I want to go over, because some people are just like, when you hear the word meditation, it's I'm going to sit in silence, and that's totally not the case. You can do so many things with meditation, and I find it so powerful, and it's made me so ready to rock this world. You know, it's just the best thing in my life, the best thing that really rocks my morning. So I wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope that you take away from this, and I hope that it really helps you. Again, thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate it. Thanks for this video. And as we go on later, I'm going to be talking about my second favorite, and I'm going to bring it all together, where you can really start, where you can get some structure, and how this is going to all work for you. So thanks again for jumping on. I know it takes some time, and I really appreciate it, and I hope you learned something. Have an awesome day.